It's February 5th, 2026, and welcome to episode 117 of the Driving Forward podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening on one of our 18 platforms, including Wreaths Across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time, we appreciate your support. Manifest 2026 is upon us. It's February 9th through the 11th at the Venetian Resort and Casino. We're expecting 7,000 innovative people this year, including 2,000 shippers, 1,500 startups and investors, and 400 speakers over 60 countries represented. 60 countries. That's a lot. So you can still use our discount code. It's manifestvegas.com/freight movement for a $200 off code. If you're going to be there, you want to chat, reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you. A lot of us get in Sunday. We're doing a Super Bowl party in our suite. Our suite is only so large. So if you do want to join, reach out to us, let us know. And following us getting there and following the Super Bowl and following the opening night of Manifest, we're going to have a freight movement experience from on Monday night from 7 to 9 p.m. The $1 Million Trucker Bar brought to you by Venture 53 at the 1923 Prohibition Bar on Monday. It's speakeasy vibes and real people. We're going to have a live DJ, a photo booth. There's a VIP entrance for those who have been able to snag those VIP tickets. But a huge thanks to Venture 53 as our title sponsor. Clio, Journey, EBE, GLCS, and Virago Marketing are also sponsoring. So grab your ticket on the Eventbrite that we'll post up here. And follow Freight Movement for any updates. And you can look that up at Freight Movement, FR8MVMT.com. So next week, we will be at Manifest, as previously stated. And we're not sure if we're going live or if we're just going to run some recordings. We probably are not going to be scheduled necessarily at 1 o'clock unless it's recordings. But next week will be all about Manifest. We're hoping to get some short clips and tie them all together and have them all produced and ready to go by Thursday, which is a Herculean effort in and of itself. So after that, following that, I'm not sure we have the promo card, but we do have Will Jenkins and Bill Champine on. I think everybody knows Will Jenkins from Journey, but Bill Champine is with Venture Logistics. He's on the asset side, and he's the president of Venture Trucking. They're about 1,000 truck fleet based out of Indianapolis. And we're just talking about being a leader in this market, being a leader in transportation and logistics. We've done this panel before at a conference and thought it would be great to do it as a podcast episode. So, all right, if the freight market feels like it's trying to turn a corner, but you still can't tell if that's momentum or just noise, you're not crazy. Right now, capacity is tightening, rates kind of still feel pinned, and a whole lot of freight is sliding into the spot market, and it's kind of feeling like it's looking for a place to hide. So everybody's got a prediction on this. Everybody's got the hot take, but none of that helps you make payroll, plan your network, or decide whether you're about to lean into it or pull back. So today we're doing a market reality check. So it's no hype around it, just three operators in the space coming from three different angles and talking about where we currently are. So that's technology, what the data is showing and what's changing underneath the hood of all the solutions out there. Carrier leadership, what's tightening up, what's breaking, and where you still have to leverage all of your potential. Operations, how you protect your margin and service when the market is inconsistent. So we've got Oliver Jones on from Manifold, Chris Ceausu. I'm going to do my best there, and then I'm never saying it again, Chris. So we're just going with Chris C from here on out. Chris is with White Arrow Trucking, and Cole Stevens from Stevens Trucking. They're living this every day. They're not theorizing. They're not reposting people's stuff that are random and charted. They're running freight, making decisions, taking risks. What we're talking about, what signals actually matter, what KPIs you can trust, why rates can stay ugly even when capacity gets tight, and how to play the spot market without lighting your operations on fire. So if you have any questions for us, drop them in the comments. We'd love to handle anything that you're coming up with, even if it's not related to market. I'm sure these guys are happy to talk about anything and everything. So let's bring the panel on. All right, gentlemen. Appreciate you joining the show today.
Happy to be here.
Hello.
Yep. Thanks for having us, Nate.
So we're gonna just do a little round table and have you guys do a quick intro on yourself and your background, and then from there we'll kick it off with some larger topics. So we'll just do the round robin the way we're set up here. So Cole, why don't you do a quick intro on yourself?
Awesome. So Cole Stevens, Chief Strategy Officer at Stevens Trucking, second generation. Father started the business with one pickup truck back in 1979. We've grown the fleet from there in it. He's still our fearless leader. My two older brothers are also in the business. So we're based out of Oklahoma City.
Excellent. Chris, let's go with you next.
Chris, White Arrow owner. Started off driving a truck and then basically grew the business. Now we have facilities in Southern California, on the West Coast, basically SoCal, NorthCal, PNW, Chicago, and a couple of places in the Northeast. Regional trucking, intermodal, freight brokerage, medium size, but we see kind of all aspects of the market. Direct shippers, 3PLs, everyone kind of uses us, and then obviously running the assets day to day. Oh, and LTL Excellent. As well. Sorry.
No, where are you based out of? Did I miss that?
I'm in LA, Orange County.
You are LA. Okay, great. And Oliver.
Yeah, founder and CEO of Manifold. Originally got my figuring out the freight market in working at Convoy. Eventually founded my own company, Manifold, 2 years ago, and it's been a great ride ever since. And we specifically aggregate spot freight opportunities and help you automate bidding on them.
Great. Yeah, and I'm trying to think back when we first met, Oliver. It's probably been 3 years.
You were one of the first people I met in the industry, Nate. Yeah, for sure.
That's two or 3 years, one of the two. So, absolutely. So great to have you all on. So we're just going to jump right into it here. If you can, we're going to do this round robin again. We'll do it a few times, and we can certainly go out of way, but feel free to interact with one another on these answers that you're about to give, or ask additional questions. What's the most real thing you're seeing right now? Capacity rates, spot volume. So just what's the most real thing in a one sentence answer are you seeing out in the industry and that impacts your day? So Cole, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, the rates are definitely going up on the spot market. And then you can see a little bit of the merry-go-round start with some of the driver capacity. Those usually go hand in hand. So I'm seeing both.
Chris?
We're seeing, so as we're kind of went through the annual RFP process, what we're seeing, we had to obviously increase our pricing based on cost, and we were in a lot of cases fired or decreased volume, right? We're already seeing, so a lot of these RFPs kind of went into effect, let's call it the beginning of the year, or through, the last 2 months, let's say. We're seeing quite a bit of business coming back. Even some of the guys that were basically tell us to go pound sand, all of a sudden the volume is coming back up. So we're seeing that's the contractual side. The spot market, obviously it's up, but is it, you got the holidays and then you've got kind of this weather situation. I'm not sure how long that's going to hold, but if you dial it back a little bit, the simplest way I like to look at the market is, you go back to 2019, I think rates, I haven't looked at it in a little while maybe, but rates are up about 15% from 2019. Cost to operate a truck is what, 40% up, right? So there's a
Right.
disconnect there. This is not that high of a margin. I don't think anyone's making that much money.
No.
My 2 cents is over the last 4 years in this down cycle, I think first 2 years was kind of fueled by the
PP
profits that
or-
exactly the profits that we all made during the COVID, right? And I think the last 2 years is basically, we're all floating this thing. A lot of these guys are floating this thing based on just, subsidy, putting cash in the business. A lot of these guys are not servicing their debt, whether it's a 3PL, a broker, or the asset guys, especially the smaller guys that are not servicing their debt whatsoever. So I think the timing of this thing is, as we get into the, we had these RFP. Yeah, and the biggest thing that I think is the biggest catalyst is the fact that shipper sentiment, right? Because we deal with some of the bigger shippers out there. The shipper sentiment was going into this RFP season was hold price or decrease price, which is completely disconnected from what the realities of what's happening. And again, our costs have gone up. Last time I checked, our fuel didn't go down. Our maintenance has gone absolutely berserk, right? Cost of labor in any way has gone out. So all these things, there's a huge disconnect. And I think it's been subsidized by various things for the last 4 years. At least that's my 2 cents. Maybe I'm wrong.
Those are all amazing points, and I'll circle back to some of them after I give Oliver a shot. But
sorry,
I got a couple of comments on that are potentially our hot takes. So, but go ahead, Oliver.
Yeah, well, I haven't been in it for as long as these two gentlemen, but definitely, the only thing I can really say strongly is that carriers are feeling more confident now. Like when I was talking to them, I do a lot of sales calls. A year ago, a lot of people feeling really down in the dumps and just being like, hey, I'm just trying to hold on. And I still think that's a case for many right now, but there's a feeling more of like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. People are a little bit more excited to like make bigger bets. We've certainly seen it in the business side of like, and then with the spot market, people are a little bit more interested in being like, hey, maybe I should go play in it a little bit more to take some of this upside. Yeah.
So before I comment on a couple of these, we got a comment from Chris Sonic. There's a benefit to joining the race to the bottom, short-term volume decrease, and then the chance to play hero and deliver when others aren't able sounds worth it to me. So agreed. I mean, that I think is going to play for those that are in the spot market. Or handling contract, have some sort of recovery contract relationship with their customers. So 100% agree that it brings it back where you actually do need to potentially recover a few more things as the market tightens up. Chris, you brought up all kinds of different things as far as, how we got where we were at and servicing debt. And, a lot of these companies did not understand. So I always say that trucking companies, I ran I know two of you I haven't talked with much in the past. So I come from a background where I've run significantly large trucking companies, brokerages, et cetera. And I've been on the tech side for quite some time now. But that being said, a lot of these companies don't understand cash flow. And even small mid-market fleets don't truly understand cash flow. And so if there's cash in the bank, they feel like they're okay. And they may be gushing cash on a monthly basis, but they ran through, there was more levers to pull through COVID or after COVID than I think all of us have ever had the opportunity to pull. So to your point, I agree with you entirely. Some of the companies are no longer around. Other ones have now leveraged every possible lever that they had. They've refinanced trucks, refinanced trailers. They are on the end of their rope. And this turn is happening when it absolutely needs to happen, or we're going to see more purge from the company or from the industry that are good companies. So, but the tentative side of, is this real or is this not? I also agree with you there. Coming out, we did see seasonality. And now we're seeing a nasty January, and one bad week of January can lead to 3 weeks plus on the spot market recovering. So I think there's a lot of tentative side, but to your point, we're seeing all those commitments coming forward. A lot of shippers looking for commitments right now. I think they see what's coming down the road. So that's a good segue into the market's turning a corner. We feel like it's turning a corner, but I think everybody's kind of walking on eggshells. Not everybody. Some people aren't. Some people are going all in. I've seen several posts from carriers that have bought some new solutions, bought more trucks, etc. But the market is turning a corner. So what does that mean operationally in your world? Both, this applies to Oliver as well. So the market's turning a corner. There's a lot of questions being asked, a lot of needs that are starting to come forward. So Oliver, I'm going to start out on the tech side. What have you seen happen here over the last 60 days?
Yeah. Kind of going back to my previous summary is just carriers are more bullish, and so it's a lot more exciting to go talk to them and go strategize and build solutions with them, because again, they're feeling a little bit brighter. The spot market's particularly bright right now. Again, we'll see if it holds. I've been seen things in the past, so I'm very much a little bit tentative myself, but nonetheless, we see that growth, and so we specialize in helping companies capitalize on the spot market opportunities. And again, the conversation's been really positive in the last 3-ish months. January has been a noticeable distinguished difference than again, even a December or a November. So I don't know, from my perspective, figuring out how you, and I think whether it turns now, I think my thought is whether it turns now or whether it turns 6 months from now, figuring out how to play the upswing with the spot market is probably not a bad idea. I know at Convoy we went through this before. I remember, the brokers, we see those differences right now. Again, we'll see whether it turns, but there are a lot of them are upside down on their contracts, right, because of the spot market increases. And I remember this at Convoy. It was during that COVID push. It was really, really bad. We were losing a ton of money. And so understanding how to, I think more sophisticated brokers and trucking companies, understanding how to shift your balance to spot market to take advantage of those wins and then shift back to contract as things settle down. I think those are the best players. And I don't know if I fully buy the whole argument again that you got to treat your, I totally understand you got to treat your shippers right, but everyone's out to make money, right? So what have shippers done for the past 2 years? I don't know, squeezed rates because they can, right? And so it's if you have the opportunity to make a little bit, I say go for it.
So cool. Any response to that or thoughts on the question?
Yeah, I mean, freight's just become so commoditized, right? You're just basically gambling. I mean, it really does go off of what you think the market is going to do ultimately. So you've kind of got the choice of, you can lock in on contracts at X, but if you think that the spot market's going to outpace it that much further, then why would you, right? And you just got to analyze what your blend of contract to spot is, and then what your fixed costs are for what you've locked in on your equipment. And that's really the asset game. I mean, it's no different than 46 years ago when my father started the company. It's quicker, more volatile peaks and valleys, but you're still ultimately just kind of gambling a little bit on what's your blend of contract to spot currently, and what do you think you can pallet, for the life cycle of whatever your debt is that you're trying to service on your equipment, right? So again, everybody's got a different take. So you kind of see people shove over more and go ahead and take the sure bet on a contract, but some people, to Oliver's point, are going to be more bullish and say, hey, let's just leave it on the spot market. If it's going to continue to rise for 6 months, then why would I lock in, maybe at a 5% raise on contract when I can go get 20% more on the spot as it's going up, right? So it's kind of just, it's like the roller coaster. When do you get on and when do you get off, right?
Chris.
I think procurement over the last, I've been doing this for a while, unfortunately, but over the last, I would say 15, 20 years, I'm not as young as I look. So over the last 15, 20 years, I would say that procurement at shippers is making more decisions rather than operations. So that's causing a lot of these things. That said, in 24, frankly, I screwed up. We pushed hard on price increases and we lost a lot of volume. And that impacted us with the exact same. We're kind of in the similar position here. I think the things are quite different. And frankly, we got hit pretty hard in 24 because we lost a lot of volume and the spot market didn't kick in. 25, we stepped it back, decreased pricing and kind of an equilibrium, if you will. But I think this year we're kind of hitting it. Price increases pretty significant. And like I said, I think I'll put it differently. There's a lot of market data out there that clearly shows that the market's turning. But over the last 4 to 8 weeks, we have a lot of inbound activity. And even literally over the last 2 days, we're getting shippers calling us, like they're reaching out to like our local dispatchers in I don't know what region, right?
Yeah.
And so there's the feeling component, right? Yes, there's a lot of market data, today versus 10 years ago versus 20 years ago. There's a lot more market data that shows what's going on. But at the end of the day, there's the feeling component, and as you sit in the seat, you see it, and the amount of inbound activity that we've experienced, even the last couple of days, it's completely nuts. I can't. So it will, in my opinion, for certain, like we're all in on price increasing because we need to maintain, right? We got to be able to growth, right? You got to be able to reinvest in the business. You cannot just continue to just, it doesn't work.
Right.
But I think the market will turn. The question is, how hard will it turn? I'm almost concerned that it's going to turn too hard because you got a lot of these, and especially the markets that we play in, we're in this coast to coast, east west, where we're competing with these, all these clowns, if you will, for lack of a better word. As this capacity gets sucked out, like we're having a lot of inbound activity for produce out of California in February. Literally, I've got 3 major customers that called in the last 2 days with that. I'm like, it's freaking February. What's going on, guys? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, we shouldn't see this.
California in February, right? So I mean, maybe the weather's been really nice. I don't know, but so it's stuff like that that is just not, there's the feeling component. And again, that doesn't mean anything. Yes, the data shows a lot, right? But the feeling component in the driver's seat, it's significant, more so than I've seen in years from an inbound perspective.
Very similar to COVID. Summer of 2020, when everything took off, that inbound volume just, it's something you can't put the data lags behind, even if it's a couple days. And when you're getting that influx of emails and you're seeing the people that are reaching out to you, you're like, wow, something's going on. Right? Exactly.
And that's the feeling that I'm seeing on the street. That's just what I'm seeing, on a day-to-day.
I'm not calling it COVID 2.0, but just like literally those first days of when the world reopened and it was like, hey, we got to move a bunch of stuff. Yeah. That's like, I was in the procurement seat. I was booking freight. That's how this feels again, genuinely.
I would argue that it's, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead, Chris. Go. This is your show. Go for it.
I would argue that it's a little bit worse than COVID, because in COVID you had a lot of, you've got a lot of capacity that was coming in and what have you. Yep. And the capacity is going completely the other way, right? That's right. Worse, at the end of the day, when you look at the banks that are lending to these smaller, like the majority of the market is basically moved by small guys, right? And there's no one's going to be lending to these guys. The Uber driver, I just had an Uber driver take me the other day, right? He was able to crash one of his cars, and he was able to go to Toyota and get a finance. I'm pretty sure he wasn't legal, right? Toyota gave him financing to go get a new Uber car and drive after he just crashed the other one. The insurance company hasn't paid off the first one. So are these guys going to get financing? Maybe maybe Toyota is going to give guys trucks or whatever. I don't see it happening in our space as much because the lenders have been burned.
Yep.
So in a big way.
Capacity is not going to come back in anytime soon. Yeah. You look at the big guys that are lending in the industry, they're completely lights out.
Yeah, they all got punished here. I think, you look back. So I primarily operated 15 years ago and before, but you look at the difference then to the difference now. You have so many more abilities today to streamline your cash flow. Back when I was running trucks, maybe 10-20% of the industry tops was factoring. Now it's, the inverse of that. There's more like 80-90%. So, the question is do you need a significant amount of financing as a single operator potentially, but there's always a way to get things done. So this industry is extremely scrappy. I don't want to see that influx of equipment come back in. I think that a slow growth is healthy for us because we don't want to see this tail whip that we had happen at the end of COVID, where we need 100% of everything that we have, and then now we need 70% of that, and everyone gets crushed, and it takes us years and years to recover. So, what do you think is driving the market shift right now? What do you think's behind all of that? We'll start this one out with Chris.
Definitely capacity. Freight volumes have been, although the market data shows that freight volumes are low.
Right.
Our network, but we have exposure to less than truckload volume LTL. Like a lot of brokers use us for like the volume LTL east-west. All that stuff, some of it is pretty low, but the true like common carrier LTL for us has been really kicking off in the last couple of months. So we're seeing volumes from weird places. The truckload stuff, so we're picking up volume, but it's more strategic. But it's not like the volume that kind of like that east-west volume LTL guy shipping, some freight broker shipping from LA to New Jersey, 10 pallets is that volume is not. It's really low right now, so it's not volume. At least in that market, right? Our network is a little bit different, but it's just because we see these different segments, I can speak. So yes, one component of the volume right now is protect from freeze for us is really obviously because with the weather and everything, and we have a lot of exposure to confectionery and things like that. A lot of it is shipping, so those volumes are up, but everything else is kind of dead. I would argue it's capacity, and we run. And I think it's from the driver's side. We run W-2 guys, California, New Jersey, these horrific, Massachusetts, Illinois is the least regulated state that we operate.
Not many people do that anymore. So,
yeah, well, that's we have it's not yeah, but and we're seeing like it's difficult, like the driver situation. It's right. We do background checks on these guys, and like we've got guys that are having issues. I'm like, how the heck, well, I'm not going to get, you get my point, right? You're doing a full background on these guys, and you're still having issues. So, what about the other guys that are not? So again, I'm going to argue that it's a capacity deal, and this is why I'm a little bit of afraid, because when volumes on a general basis stabilized, like right, you got industrial production, everything as those things kind of stabilized, normalized, because they're abnormally low. As those things, it's kind of scary. I'm a little bit worried, like how's my food going to get to this to my local store so I can eat. That's why I hope it's not going to be too bad, but it's weird. That's why I say I think it's got COVID vibes, we'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. The capacity is a big. I mean, that's the obvious answer right at the moment. But I think what's strange, and I'll do Oliver here next. What's strange is, so I was just running through this data the other day for another reason. Cass's data for December shows a 7.7% decrease year over year from last year, from 2024 to 2025. But they show a 2.1% increase in line haul. So line haul, no fuel, no accessorials. But they show a 1% increase purely from November to December. So we're seeing that decrease, which is potentially artificial in consumer confidence in purchasing. It may be artificial for a period of time while interest rates drop, housing market launches, whatever, et cetera. But overall, what you're saying and what you're feeling, like we all have, I think that the trucking industry lots of times get driven by tribal knowledge and feelings. So based upon some sort of data that flows behind it. but the CAS data is actually supporting exactly what you just said. So, Oliver, you got some statements on this?
Not particularly. You know, I only can speak to what you know, carriers tell me, because it's not something, you know, I don't directly hire, you know, for new drivers, or am not directly privy to pure volume. You know, I see increased volume on shipper spot boards, but that doesn't mean that there's more volume, right? That just means that shipments are getting rejected, right? So that doesn't necessarily say that there's more actual overall volume out there. But yeah, the only thing I'll say is what everyone else is saying is it sure seems like capacity is getting shrunk. You know, when I talk to pretty much every carrier, that's their answer.
Cole, you have anything else to add on that one?
100% agree that it's supply side.
So another interesting fact is we have never seen a market shift on a capacity reduction. So ever. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I am very excited to go to TCA here in a couple of weeks. It's at the end of February, and Bob Costello is speaking, and I had the privilege of being able to listen to him. So it's very rare I get an economist and the exact same economist 3 months later. So I capped 2025 with Bob at ATA in San Diego, and now I get to see what he says now. And things weren't looking real great at end of October at ATA. So I'll be very interested to see what data he pulls forward and how things look like there. So we did get a couple comments. So Chris Thomas, if you're still listening, looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. And so Chris is a driver for Autumn Transport, and he's running with Michael Lombard, if anybody knows who Michael is. But he just picked Michael up, and they're driving out to Vegas together. But if you float through Minnesota, you can pick me up too. That might be a little comfort, too comfortable, and three dudes in a truck, but something I've actually done before. So next comment was from Travis Rizenko. Gentlemen, here's a paradox for you. We've purged 190,000 non-domiciled CDLs, and capacity is supposedly down. Why aren't rates moving up? And his take is we cleaned up the hands on the wheel, but ignored the hands on the keyboard. Double brokering rings create phantom capacity that keeps the floor artificially low. Shippers won't pay more as long as the fraudsters are undercutting everyone to secure loads they never intended to pay for. And is there thoughts on that? So I'll toss that out to you guys to comment on if you want to take that.
I think there was just a fatality in Indiana, 4-person fatality with a non-domiciled CDL out of Pennsylvania. So they haven't even gotten close to actually purging the non-domiciled CDLs out. So they still haven't actually cleaned up the hands on the wheel yet, which is, again, part of the supply capacity side that's happening before us. But I also do agree that the fraud, the double brokering, the chameleon carrier, every bit, that also has to be cleaned up at the same time. So that's what I think is going to continue to happen, and it will be what drives rates up.
Anyone else have comments on that?
I think we've had a long, it's been a long drive to the bottom. You know, it's post deregulation. It's like whoever can cut more corners. And look, I came to the States in the 90s. You know, I'm an immigrant, and I grew up in that Central California, and I've seen it firsthand. I used to drive a truck cross country, and I know, you know, I know how it works, right? I understand it fully, if you will, from the ground up. There's a lot of bad actors, and that's the thing. And I don't think it's just the non-domicile guys. It's look, the mindset, you know, you come in the market and it's, I'm trying to word this. There's
I'll pick. Oh, go ahead.
All sorts of things going on, whether it's, you know, hours of service or whether it's whatever. And it's not going to be just one, oh, non-domiciled or this or that. It's a array of things that at the end of the day, normal guy is like, no, I'm not going to drive 20-hour days. That's not okay, right? Because the odds of me falling asleep after 20 hours is just, some guys can do it. Like my father drove until like 2018, and he was like late 70s, and he was just fine. But it's not okay, because ultimately it leads to more wrecks. And I've been telling my wife and kids, stay the hell away from trucks for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and
It's
that's not how
okay.
I grew up, Chris, right? That's not how we grew up. It used to be the safest drivers on the road were the ones driving the big rigs.
Yeah. And the industry in a form needs to be cleaned up for the good guys, right? I'm going to go back to my Uber driver from the other day. The guy was like, some guy at a Mumbai couldn't even handle the accelerator. And it's funny, I always thought these guys are like, oh, some guy off the farm. And don't get me wrong, I grew up on a farm in Eastern Europe, so that's where I was born and raised. And this guy's from a city, from Mumbai, and I'm like, holy shit, that's right. They never drive cars in the city, because they're always like public transportation. Like the guy couldn't handle the accelerator. Like, this is crazy. Right. I'm like, holy. And anyways, I don't want to get whatever, but there's a lot of things in the industry. It's not just the non-domiciled things. It's the fraud. These guys aren't insuring their trucks. They've got 20, 30 truck operations. They're insuring 3 trucks. It's a array of things that really needs to kind of at least stabilize and slowly start to normalize to a level where we as a society are comfortable with, right?
Agreed. So my kind of take on this and the comment from Travis. So first off, non-domiciled CDLs are not a bad term. It's the people who are not driving appropriately that are cutting corners. You said it perfectly, Chris. This has been an issue going back my entire career. It's just larger now, and it's probably more noticeable because we have all these amazing tools to track people. We can see that somebody gets a citation or gets shut down and flips companies with their truck and is back up and operating shortly thereafter under a new MC. And there's companies behind this. There's insurance companies that are insuring that. There's finance companies that are financing that. And so as an industry as a whole, we need to broadcast those bad actors better so that businesses don't want to do business with them. So that I think we have not done. We're just peeking over the top saying, okay, these are our problems in the industry. I think some of that has been identified through non-domiciled CDLs and through the English language proficiency, but I don't think that's all contained. So, regardless, I think that it does purge capacity, but as long as it's the right purge, I think I'm all behind it. So, we're gonna take a quick break and then we'll pick it back up. We went 8 minutes over there, so that was my fault for not managing it. So we'll be back in about a minute and a half. If you have questions, queue them up for us. We'd be happy to take them on. So see you all in a minute.
If your fleet's downtime looks like chaos, you're missing out on GLCS. In the time-critical world of trucking and logistics, every minute counts. Meet GLCS, your expert partner in managed IT and technology services. We integrate seamlessly with your team, bringing seasoned IT professionals with deep trucking and logistics expertise. Imagine your software updates running smoothly, complex issues resolved quickly, and operations humming with efficiency. GLCS has your back. Our support doesn't just fix problems, it prevents them with our industry connections and proactive approach. We keep your trucks rolling and your brokers working. Think of us as the added resource your company needs to unleash its full potential. Visit glcs.net today and keep your business driving forward. GLCS, where efficiency meets expertise.
All right, we're back. So sorry to cut you off there, Chris, but I got a reminder saying, oh, we got to do this. So, so do you want to pick up what you were saying, or I can?
Let's
Okay,
go.
fair enough.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, fair enough.
I have a bunch of quick thing to say, like,
Yeah.
as an outsider, because I can't speak to clearly the industry experience you all have. I've been in the industry for almost 10 years now, but it is amazing because as I started in brokerage, of course, at Convoy, and then I started moving over to working. Most of our customers are carriers, and I will say I am shocked at how unfair the playing field is. Like it is interesting how shippers are so insulated from everything. Like by multiple levels, like we're talking about like cleaning things up, but like at some level, like it doesn't seem like shippers care too much as long as they get their goods moved cheaply. Like they're insulated because no one can sue them. And then they hire these brokers, and then the brokers are insulated, right? And there's a Supreme Court case right now, and it's like it doesn't seem like it's going their way. I don't, I might be not perfectly up to date on that. And then you have shady carriers under that. So there's like anyone that like the people that are getting screwed most in this is like any carrier that's really trying to run an uptight operation has a really hard time like competing. And it's like kind of insane to me. Like, and it's like, if I don't know, like it's just an outsider that wasn't born into the freight industry that kind of like moved into it and like, well into my adulthood. I don't think people outside of this industry know how kind of unfair and bad and like what kind of system we ended up setting up just to, I don't know, to keep freight.
If I may, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
The incentives are all wrong in the industry, right? If one of Cole's trucks or one of our trucks goes and, God forbid something happens and it plows into, a busload of children, we've got we've got an issue, right? And what we're going to pay out is going to be a significantly higher amount than some dude, that has no assets that was contracted, right? Yep. We have, I don't know where you guys are at, Cole, but we've decreased our fleet count because the cost, even though we are right, we're in a captive policy, our costs are very, like we have, our cost to operate a truck are very low, right? Why is some guy that just basically there's no efficiencies is able to undercut a fleet that runs clean and structural? Well, it's very simple. They can operate, right? There's the insurance come again. There's many ways to cut corners, and to keep it short, because I could sit here all day, is the incentives are all wrong. Basically, I wouldn't call them bad guys. We all are incentivized to cut more corners, and if I cut more corners than Cole, I make more money. That's wrong. Yeah. Not that's okay, right? The only thing that's keeping us from doing that is our morals. Like, I don't want to see people die. Let's just be realistic. Like fleets our sizes are going to kill a lot of people if we cut a lot of corners, right? And our moral compass is the only thing that's keeping us from doing that. Because if we were going to be greedy, we could make a lot of money in this industry. Let's just be very realistic, right? But then we're having to, and then there's no differentiator to the shippers. And that's the issue. The incentives are all wrong, period. How we fix that, I am not, it's above my pay grade. I don't know. I don't know how you fix that.
Cole, you have some comments on that?
The FMCSA doing their job. That's actually what would get this done. Enforcement from a federal agency that in their name is motor carrier safety, that would probably be a really good start. I'll just say the tough part out loud. So that's what needs to happen. It's been slipping for years. We've been going downhill. And then the last 4 were just atrocious. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Very simple.
That's a whole episode.
A lot longer than 4. It's been going on for a very long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been sliding, but then the last 4 or 5 years, we slid off the cliff and we were in a free fall.
Fair.
We had so many entrants into the industry in the last 6 years, 7 years. And the FMCSA is it's an administration thing as well, because the FMCSA needs the teeth to be able to actually function, and they don't have that. So ask the FMCSA to shut a trucking company down because they're unsafe with undeniable data. They can't do it. So they're technically not capable of doing that. So that's a problem with our government generally. So to level the playing field, and I think all of us as all of the good actors out there, all of the people who are trying to do the right thing for all the right reasons, need to get behind the organizations that are pulling for that. And you might not agree with 100% of what an organization. So, pick whatever asset based or non asset based organization you want to back. You may not agree with 100% of what they do, but you may agree with 90%. If we can all get to 90%, we're in a better space as an industry. So that 10% is always in question, and a lot of people end up battling over a 10% difference in opinion. So I think that you're 100% right. Enforcement on this and identifying the issues, and we as individuals and as companies have difficulty making our government shift. But what we can do is put spotlights on these companies that are working with bad actors, and I think that cutting them off at the cash point is where it's going to help. If they need loans, if they need business, if they need whatever. I think that's a huge way to eliminate some of the bad actors out there and kind of build in on more standardization. So,
I'm going to add one more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go right ahead.
One thing I would say, because Cole, you mentioned that kind of the Fed's enforcing these things. What I can tell you is that a lot of these issues with auditing and chameleon carriers has been around since the 90s.
Oh yeah.
But now it's at scale. Now it's at scale. Now it's at scale.
Yeah, in modern tech, they just got even more sophisticated and it just got quicker. So yeah, all the problems that have been there for 10, 20 years just got magnified. And the speed, the pace, just like our industry, it picked up. So did the fraud. The pace did.
But it's difficult because you don't want you want people to succeed in business, right? And then that's what this country is all about, right? You want people succeeding. You want those things. So how do you balance in between? How do you identify a bad guy, right? Is my father a bad guy? Am I a bad guy? Who's a good guy? Who's a bad guy?
No, agreed. And that's part of that discussion around, everyone's trying to survive and pay for their family, even the bad guys, right? So the question is where's the line?
We've got a freight brokerage, right? We've got a small freight brokerage that we run, and we've implemented the gen logs over the last 6 months or something. And I kind of geeked out on it the first couple of weeks going through the data. I'm like, I got scared. I got scared just looking at these things because I understand the stuff ground up. I'm like, holy shit, there's no good guys. Based on that, I'm like, I can't even our freight brokerage operates independently, and when we're selling it, we operate more like freight brokerage and then the asset side. And frankly, when we're bidding on the freight brokerage, we push to the assets. When those guys can't cover it, it's kind of like a safety net, our assets, not the other way, from the assets to the freight brokerage. But I'm like, holy crap, we need to cut this thing back because this is nuts. Like, I cannot commit, I can't expose my customers to this stuff. So then it's the same thing over there. The guys that are cutting more corners, I think, with the hiring, right? You're just I can't expose our customers, our asset customers, to this kind of stuff, even though they know it's our brokerage business. It's just not. I'm like, you know what? No. Sorry.
No, that's, Genlogs, they just raised a bunch of capital, so I'm curious to see what more they're going to do. But I will say that as we supply more data, so if you look at like rate visibility and whatnot, as you supply more data, it eventually ends up at the shipper, which marginalizes our potential rates and lanes. So the more data that gets out there, the less swing you're going to see in rates. You're not just going to have random rates out there anymore. You're going to have a harder time pulling levers to have a higher rate on a particular award. So the more data that gets out there, but that may not be a bad thing if you start eliminating the bad actors. That also being said, it also kind of takes us back into scenarios that we had pre-deregulation, where this is what this lane pays, whether you're contract or spot, and spot could be variable, but contract is this. What we're just seeing right now is still seeing anomalies to COVID. I would be curious how we look in a normal market cycle here in the next few years, where our costs stop going astronomical. And I pulled up ATRI's report for 2019 or 2025, which goes back to 2019. So that, and this is nationwide. This isn't regional, but the average cost of marginal cost per mile for a carrier in 2019 is $1.69, $1.70. Today in 2024, actually, I guess I might have pulled up 2024. Well, no, 2024 was the last one that they did. So it's 226 a mile, 33% increase. That's over 5 years, 6 years if you include the whole year. You're never going to outrun. You're going to have a hard time. By the time you're redoing bids, your costs are climbing. So it's pretty wild out there. So no doubt about it, but the rates have to increase.
ATRI measures also the cost per hour and the cost per mile. I think
Yeah.
I thought it was 30. Is it 33% for the cost per mile? And then the cost per hour is like 36%, if memory serves me right.
Yeah, it went from 66.94 in cost per hour to 90.89.
Yeah.
So, which is hilarious because back in the day, we just say, oh, we'll take X amount. But most people, if you're not putting in well over $100 an hour on your trucks, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So,
and one thing I would add to that is FTR measures the fleets to run the cost to run fleets. I believe for the same time frame, it was approximately 46%.
Sure.
Right. So again, I argue it's definitely north of 30. Let's call it 35%.
Absolutely.
I think it's north of 40%, but I don't think it really. We're splitting hairs.
No, it frankly, at whether it's 30, 40, or 50, it really doesn't matter. Those are astronomical numbers over periods of time. If you just do a 3% year over year, you don't come anywhere near that at all. So you're still substantially lower, and 3% would be typically high, but it's that peak of inflation that we hit. So,
and that has to come from somewhere.
The survival has to come from somewhere because you can't have. So I guess the point being is, I got a question I'm going to go to here. But the point is, going after the higher rate is the right answer. Your costs have gone up substantially, but yet your rates have not over this period. We did experience an interesting anomaly over COVID, but everyone's depleted all those funds a long time ago. So grabbing the rate when it comes up, and it's not a question of, are you being mean to brokers? Are you being mean to shippers? You're just leveling out the market over the last 6 years. So you're doing what you need to do to remain viable. And if they don't want to pay that, then you're on to the next bid, because right now you got them coming in left and right. So.
But from a shipper's perspective, they're going to go chase. They're going to take forget shippers. Us on a regional basis, right? We in and out of our facilities. Again, we're decreasing our truck count, and we're using outside guys to handle our regional moves. Why is it cheaper? Like, again, those guys are not buying trucks for cheaper. They're not maintaining them. Their insurance costs aren't lower.
Right.
There's reasons those things are happening, and it's cutting corners, right? So I won't look. Everyone's got to look at costs, ourselves included, right? When it comes to, why am I decreasing my truck? Maybe I'm just a shitty operator. I don't think so, but right? Why some guy? There's a disconnect, and it's not just us. Everybody's decreasing their fleet count. Why? Is the guy that's buying the truck for 30 to 40% more than us? And then it costs their maintenance. You look at the maintenance and that's not it. There's an underlying issue, and it's sorry.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I agree. There's lots of things that need to be fixed, and then there's what you can control individually. Which is going to bring us to our last question. I didn't get through hardly any of my questions, so that's a good thing. Those are always good episodes when we just kind of go on. So and I appreciate that. So all of you finish this sentence. In the next 30 days, if you want to make better freight decisions, focus on X. So answer that, and But give a little description on it. And Cole, let's start with you.
I'd say I'd focus on my drivers. I think they're going to bring home the bacon in a tight capacity market. So we're going to be doing everything that we can to take care of them, right? Get them as much pay and as many miles as we possibly can, keep them happy, keeps the wheels rolling. Then that'll cover the fixed costs to allow you the opportunity to get to the price increases, right? So we're going to focus on our drivers. We always have, but I mean, it's going to be like full blown, take care of those drivers.
100%. They're you can't do any of the things that we do without them. So and optimizing them out to where they're doing the best job that they can. So great answer. Right. Oliver, what's your thought on this?
The next 30 days. Get more spot freight, self-serving. I think look into a lot of technology. I think now that people carriers are feeling more bullish, and that's not just like self-serving for us, but there's a lot of amazing technology. Like Genlogs is a perfect example of the amazing technology out there, and how I do think it can help service drivers. It can help you improve your operational costs. And so, if you're been sitting on the fence for the past 2 years, as things have been tough, I would say go look at new technology options.
So Chris?
Of course, people, obviously that's, drivers number one, and then the rest of the people, right? But that goes without saying, I would say in our industry, because it is a people business. But it's just cost controls overall and execution. I would say execution on kind of network changes. That's really executing to make sure that we're servicing our customers through these volatile market conditions, we'll call them.
No, great answers all around. I don't know if I have much more to add. The reality of focus on yourself. As the market eases up, if you were unable to correct some of your costs and survived the down market, you now know what if you haven't been around for 20 years, you have never seen anything that's even close to this. So the reality of it is focus on yourself and get your costs under control while still targeting your new sales. So obviously people are everything. There's a lot of great technology out there that can capitalize on revenue and reduce costs, and some of them are just quick wins. So look at those. But as you start to ease up your cash flow, ensure that you're preparing yourself for the next down market, even though we're all going to hope that doesn't come back around for a long time. But take that time to do it. So
20-year run, 20-year run, no more down market. 20 years.
I'd love that. I might go back in and buy trucks then if it normalizes.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
We shall see.
What's the fun and stability? Come on, guys.
Yeah, no fun in that. No fun in that.
Boring.
I keep saying where I used to have just one company's problem. Now I have 400. So we're just trying to make everybody go. But hey, I appreciate you guys coming on. This was a great episode. I think there's a lot of insight in here. I would love to have you all back on another time somewhere down the road here. Where can everybody find you on social media? Or wherever. Cole, why don't you start that out?
I'm not a big social media guy. I'm more
If somebody wants to reach out to you, if it's somebody, how can they get a hold of you?
Just call our landline. So just go to www.stevens.com.
Appreciate it. There we go.
Call me. There you go. There you are. Right there.
Fair enough. Appreciate that. Chris, how about yourself?
I'm on X and LinkedIn.
Excellent.
I guess you just called me somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah, fair enough. And Oliver?
LinkedIn is where I'm at, or go to our website and connect to us there.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you guys having on. I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm gonna wrap up here and look forward to chatting with you all again somewhere in the future. Oliver, I'll see you on Monday.
I'll see you at Manifest. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I saw you signed up for our event too, so
Yeah.
that's going to be. It's definitely testing my limits. So I think we're a little over 500 signed up. So we've got our wait list going. So
All right.
we hit a big one. But appreciate you all. Thank you very much for coming on. We'll see you all soon.
All right.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you, guys.
All right.
See ya.
So a couple of comments that came in towards the end. Travis says the fundamental flaw is that FMCSA is a reactive agency in a proactive threat landscape. They are a post-mortem tool, good for investigating why you lost money, but useless for preventing the loss. Waiting for the government to update to flag a bad actor is like waiting for an autopsy report to treat a patient. In 2026, if your vetting isn't predictive in real time, you're just a target with a license. And then Ryan, appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot. He said have to jump off, but thanks for sharing your perspective. Learned a lot. All the best, gentlemen. So great episode. We all know the market doesn't send you a calendar invite when it shifts. It shows up in small singles, shorter lead times, weird spot market spikes, and cheap freight that might cost you later. Decisions that feel heavier than they used to. It's kind of the scenario that we're in now. So, it's not an obvious decision. It's one of those that you're waiting for the market to identify itself. So take this with you. Track your truths. Understand your data. Know your numbers. Protect your service. Don't buy revenue that steals your margin. So that essentially is a way of saying don't run unprofitable freight, whether you're a broker or a carrier. And don't let fear make your strategy for you. Whether you're running a carrier, building tech, selling freight, or living in an ops grind, this is the season to get disciplined, not dramatic. It's disciplined, always disciplined. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, drive forward with purpose and innovation. Thanks for watching.